Welcome all. A warm welcome to Ivonne. Yeah, I'll come over to you here, Ivonne. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I think, sorry, the micro, Andreas. Yeah, you know, this is also the startup experience, so maybe you've noticed some hiccups and some, let's say, inefficiencies, but that's good because then you can learn, and hopefully next time we'll be doing that much better. Ivonne, many thanks for accepting our invitation. And I'm happy to have you and your team, some of the team members are here as well, at this lovely event, because I think this is also like a launch party where or part of a long series of launch parties where you go out and meet the community and talk about Peermatch and your vision. Maybe you can start with that.
Yes, indeed. Osman, thank you for inviting us today. For us, it is indeed a big day. We have been developing this app for the past 2 years, and the company and the structure, and we have been in the beta phase for the last months, and we decided that this is really our first event where we would publicly show what Peermatch can do, discuss it. So I'm quite happy to be here and to have this forum to say more about our idea, how we want to change the future of mortgage lending.
Yeah, I think it is a very exciting project that you want to pursue with Peermatch, and we've seen the video, and we'll come into the details later on. But maybe if we go back, to because we have also many students here. You could maybe tell us a little more about your career path, how you found yourself in the banking industry, how things evolved when you go back some years ago, how did that happen, and maybe the milestones of your also recent career.
All right, I will try and summarize that in a couple of minutes, because 20 years in investment banking, I could probably talk hours about it, but I promise I will be quick. So I basically started right after school. I started with an apprenticeship at Dresdner Bank that still existed at this time, but decided soon after it that my career would not be being a bank clerk somewhere, so I decided that I definitely wanted to study, that I wanted to be rather at a stock exchange or on a trading floor of a bank. So afterwards I studied. I got a place in Frankfurt at the old university here at that time. And Dresdner gave me the chance always to work part-time for them. That was very interesting, so I could study and have my first experiences as well. I was an intern in Tokyo, in Chicago. So this is where I really felt that capital markets, and especially the derivatives markets at that time, would be kind of my home turf. Nevertheless, after my bachelor, I changed university. As I said, it was the old Frankfurt University, for all of those who just know the lovely campus that exists now. Before that, it was, I would say, one of the most ugly universities globally. Now it's the opposite. So I changed to University of Trier and made my thesis there, but changed directly back afterwards again to Dresdner. That was the time when derivatives, especially interest rate derivatives, were starting. That was the time when banking was growing at a very, very high pace. You had all the mortgage banks, you had the Landesbanks that grew by 10-20% their balance sheet every year. New issuance was name of the game. So that was really a time where internationalization of funding was a big topic, but as well the internationalization of the products. So that were very exciting times that time.
And then, I mean, of course, many years in investment banking. Recently, before you joined Peermatch, you were with Crédit Agricole in investment banking. So you've seen it from scratch. So you start your career as a young banker, and then continued your career. Maybe if we come to the recent 5 years at head of capital markets, fixed income, which type of products were you involved? What was your daily mission and job? If we go back 5 years or some years from now.
Yeah. So after almost 10 years at Dresdens, I changed to Crédit Agricole. They started at that time their business here in Germany. That was right after the merger between Crédit Lyonnais and Crédit Agricole, and I changed to be head of capital markets. So again, that was a build-up story, a growth story. It was in 05, 06. We could hire a lot of people. That was also the time where all the credit derivative stuff then started. The structured credit like ABS, CDOs, that was something where we were, of course, as well involved in. So I had another, let's say, 2-3 years of building up things until 2008, finally, or 2007-08, when things suddenly changed. I don't go into details here. I'm sure everyone is aware what happened, and that is a point since then. Nothing has remained the same. So since 2008, for banks and banking, the story is a different one. It's shrinking. It's reduced products, reduced clients. I have to say, especially myself, I was always covering other banks, and if I look at the banking landscape, how it has already changed, how many banks have disappeared, and all the still existing banks are talking about shrinking, not building anymore. That was something that, of course, at the beginning we felt, okay, this is crisis, and we work through it, and everything will be good again. But it was clear. All the developments, together with the new regulation, and together, of course, with the new digitalization that we see, things will not come back to the state they were. So you were asking the last years in banking. My last role was being a so-called senior banker. Was that you are responsible for the global relationship you have with your clients, especially with complex organizations, for example, like Deutsche Bank, who are present globally with different entities. It was the responsibility of a senior banker to make sure that business is done everywhere and properly. And of course, also you have a lot of strategic discussions with your clients about the future. And at the beginning, again, it was a lot about how to build business, what can we do. But the last 2 years were just about new regulations, how to cope with it, how to properly shrink the business to accommodate the new environment. So there came just a time when it was just too much of scaling down, of not doing business. The mood was complete different. You were a good employer if you avoided business in the end. So this is, of course, nothing that is very fulfilling. So after 20 years, I decided, no, I have to. I watched the developments on the digital side to say, no, I want to do something different. I don't want to die with a bank.
And being reborn again with a new digital wave, let's say. But I mean, when of course the issues you've touched upon, scaling down businesses, heavy regulation, also low interest rates, which is also very burdensome for many banks. Banks also now started to shift from their traditional models to trying, implement digitalization. We can read about that in the newspapers almost every day. Were you also in the last, phase before joining Peermatch involved in such projects? Because you said, you had to, as a senior banker, this overall approach, trying to make business work. Was that also part of your job, to implement new, maybe fresh ideas?
Well, I think you overestimate the banks and their innovation. They are really kept in their legacy, especially of their old IT, even if there are some ideas how to make it better. But imagine a global bank, I mean, like Deutsche Commerz or Crédit Agricole, it's not that easy to say, okay, now digitalization is there, we changed the IT system. So I have to say, no, that was not part of my projects, but as well not really on the agenda or for the bank. And I have to say, 10 years before, a bank like Dresdner was far more advanced than many of the global banks today. But unfortunately, didn't help them.
Yeah. I mean, we're meeting a lot of startups, fintechs here, having them as guests, interesting people, you know, who have the spirit to change something. Of course, being a startup means also risk, venture, and a new way, a new path, and you don't know where it will be leading to. So I'm wondering, what was the reaction of your friends and family after so many years in a, let's say, very secure environment, in financial terms at least, when you say, okay, I'm leaving, not to another bank in another managerial role, but going to a fintech? Did they say, Yvonne, what are you doing? This is, you know, not safe, just stay where you are? How was the reaction, or did they encourage you to do that?
Well, it was quite different. Many of the colleagues, or also of my, let's say, former clients who also work at banks, says, well, we understand, definitely. My family, well, for my children, they were quite happy to see a bit more of me, at least for a while. But yes, there were also a lot of people saying, yeah, but how could you? Just hang on. But again, if you hang on too long to something that isn't working anymore, well, then it might also be too late to find the exit.
Yeah. And well, you found the exit, and a very, very interesting exit to Peermatch. And now, I mean, we had also some featuring spotlight facts about you. You doubled the team number in the last 2 months. You have a very interesting young team, people with IT background, people like yourself with deep understanding of banking. How did you, like, how was your Peermatch with Peermatch? How did you, I mean, find Peermatch, or did Peermatch, the founder of Peermatch, found you? Freddie, who is also in the audience. Hello, Freddie. I mean, how was your
it was
connection?
Very modern, very digital. Freddie found my profile over LinkedIn, and he was looking especially for people, or for someone who could also raise or attract the investors for Peermatch, the loan investors, but also and somebody who has the experience of the market, of how things were done today. So I was approached by him, and when he presented his idea, and when I saw what already was developed, not only in terms of the technical side, but also in the whole structure, I was just quite impressed. And of course, I had a lot of critical question at the beginning, but when I felt, wow, that is so thought through, that could work, I was fascinated.
This is indeed a very, very interesting digital story. Like, you know, yeah, I mean, digitalization there you see is also the hiring process, meeting people online is very interesting, and that also shows how business really dramatically changes. And I had also the experience here tonight, and I have them almost at every event, that I'm virtually connected with people, be it either on Twitter or social media, and then they show up at the events and they say, hey, we know each other. Recently it happened also in the gym. They said, I know you. And I said, I can't remember you, sorry. And then it was a virtual connection. So it is interesting that you know, it shows that it is working. So you joined Peermatch. There were already some people on the ground with the idea and the concept. When you started, what was your role? It was a very probably different environment coming, you know, from an investment bank with a functioning HR department, IT department, administration, whatever. You have nice food, canteen. You have assistants organizing your flights, etc. And now there is nothing. There is just you and the team members. So what was your impression when you started there?
Freedom. You're right. It's not the fancy big corner office anymore, and not the personal assistant I have. But first of all, I'm not a person who needs that. And again, here we're talking about digitalization. I mean, I can book my hotel over Booking.com. I don't need to tell my assistant to go into Booking.com and book that hotel. I mean, until then I booked it already. So. Yeah, it's a completely different environment. We have a very, very nice office in Reuterweg here in Frankfurt. It's directly beside Welle, so it's more of a home atmosphere than really an office atmosphere. And I have to say, I like it. I like it. We are all there. We have three rooms there. One is a big working room. The other is a conference room. And then there's also a very nice cozy room with a sofa where you can also work. And even more importantly...
I was at your office and I can confirm it's a very cozy, nice place. Yeah.
And as well, the way we can work is we can work from everywhere. We can work from where we have internet. That is as well something, in banking, often you have meetings just to have meetings, or you need to be present just to be present, or to impress the other colleagues, yeah, that you can work until 10 p.m. Well, I don't need to show that. If there's work, then I do it, and I do it from wherever we are. So that is, yeah, completely more freedom. I believe it's probably not for everyone. There are many people who still love that, to be in an office every day and have their working hours. But for me, it's yeah, the opposite. It's and you see that as well. You mentioned it already. We have a ICT team that works in Amsterdam, so we are also not sitting together. But still, that's no difference at all. Yeah.
And I mean, for a startup, you are, as you said, really international. You have the team in Amsterdam, you have people here, the chatters. That's also an interesting job title. I think we have a chatter, or some chatters here. We'll come to that, the position, what a chatter is and what a chatter does. But, I mean, new environment, of course, you have a broad skill set. You know how these things work. What are the skills you can, day by day use for Peermatch? For the interest of Peermatch, and what are the areas where you think you still need to learn, maybe from the younger chatters or the other colleagues in the team?
What definitely is my added value is that I know really exactly how capital markets are working, how mortgage financing and refinancing is done today. I know the players in the market, the big investors, the insurance companies, pension funds. I know what is going on in regulation on both sides, which is also part of why our business is working, or our model is working. Certainly my managerial experience is something that is very useful, and yes, of course, I mean, and even if I'm always be a technology freak and early adopter, I mean, I will never be a programmer. So I have to work, I have to learn certainly every day, although, I mean, our programmers will never really know in depth all the details or juridical details of our job, and I don't need to know exactly what they are doing. We have to understand each other, what is needed, what the limits are, make sure the communication is really right, that we talk about the same things. Well, I think in general, what you said, it's good that we have really people from, I mean, our youngest team member is 16. She's at least a temporary team member. And the oldest is just over 50. And yeah, it's good. You have every day of different experiences.
And that's interesting, maybe also for you guys, because you're also, some of you have recently graduated, have the jobs, some of you maybe are thinking of, you know, having your maybe different alternative career paths. As you said, in a bank, I know also the banking environment quite well, I can say. I mean, you have, of course, a certain career track, nice titles linked also to the remuneration you get, etc. So more or less a quite clear career path. Now, if you have people around you who are, you know, 16s and IT people, more senior bankers, you also the style how you manage this company, I can imagine is completely different than having, you know, clear career paths, because everyone has a different background. So the 16 years old team member has maybe different questions, issues than the other people who have the same experience level like yours. So how do you handle work in this freestyle environment, and how can you bring structures into this company?
Well, freestyle, that's of course the point. First of all, we are not big enough to say and we don't want to start it to have big hierarchies. Yeah, so this is, I think it's important that everyone understands exactly what is expected of him, what his role is, and to make sure that everyone is really striving to do it at its best. Yeah, I mean, we're a startup, so, and saying, just entering the market. Of course, our idea is to be a very successful startup, to be a growing startup, and from being in Germany, probably being international in a couple of years' time. So, well, we will see what happens. I mean, definitely today, if somebody starts with us, there's nothing I can promise in terms of where will you be in 5 years. We don't know either. We have clear ideas where we want to be, but how big we will be, how many people we will need, we will see.
Yeah, we will hope for the best, and I'm sure that it will be a successful also path in 5 years' time. Maybe we can meet again in 5 years' time and have a recap of our nice conversation here. That would be a nice deal.
Okay.
Peermatch in 5 years.
Yeah, maybe we have to give it a different name, not startup grind then, but
yeah, let's see. Either it's startup grind or yeah, we'll see. But we will have certainly, hopefully, an exchange. Well, let's come to Peermatch maybe now for a while, understanding the technology behind it, and also maybe you know your average customer profile, the way you want to go. You have started quite recently with your rollout, but I mean you've been working on that for quite some time, Peermatch. So it's not just, you know, very young. So you put a lot of energy, time, and probably also money into this project. And now you had also first customers, both because you're matching both the borrower side and the investor side. Can you maybe tell us a little more about the traction so far Peermatch had? Where are you standing and where you want to go?
Sure. As you might have seen, and one of the reasons you probably might not have heard of us yet is as well, we didn't want to start with private customers, but we lined up some strategic investors that are typical German insurance companies, pension funds on the funding side, and also some strategic borrowers that are commercial real estate builders. So we put a lot of effort into building up a pipeline and bringing things together. So this is where we stand. The idea is to line out Peermatch as well as a next step also for private borrowers, and again on a little later stage to private investors.
So what will be, I mean, since you're on a, let's say, B2B level now, the question would be misleading if we say what is the average age and background of the customers, because probably they are companies and their average age, you can find it in the commercial register, but they are not people like you and me. But I mean, if I understand you correctly, the next step would be going out to also private customers, retail customers. Since this is an app, so who should be the target group? Who do you think will be, downloading the app? What is your role customer in? What do you have in mind?
Well, everyone who is today using apps for different things, everyone who's been using WhatsApp, for example, for sure, everyone who is fed up trying to get an appointment with his bank or driving all the way to his bank, everyone who has a financing need or, again, an investment need and just like it to have it the easy way. I mean, the question is as well, I mean, how many of you, for example, are using Amazon for getting their whatever, although he lives in a big city like Frankfurt where you could also go somewhere and buy it, you just don't. So everyone who likes to do things the mobile way, right away, at the moment where you want it, they are invited to download the app.
So let's make the test. Who is buying stuff rather online than offline? Okay.
You can download the app, please.
And who did not enter any bank in, let's say, the recent 6 months ever and doing everything online? Okay, quite some people. So that could be your target client. Okay, I see.
Good quota here.
Good quota, yeah. So we're also actually happy also, to interact with our audience, to see also immediate polls results show that 95%, no, it's a joke. But I can understand that, but now maybe a complicated or a sensitive question, what comes into my mind. I mean, you have various banks who are aggressively seeking new customers. We have low interest rates we haven't seen never before I can't remember, at least in my entire life, that interest rates gone so down, so you can below 1% if you have a good bonität, credibility, creditworthiness, you can get easily if you have good income. Then you see also banks targeting clients online, doing some stuff online. Then you have also brokers, different names, I don't want to name them, who are trying to match banks with their customers. Then you have the property developers, especially here in Frankfurt, who have information stands coming to the client saying, look at this, and nice brochures, and we will take care of the financing. So there is a lot of things going on also with the, of course, low interest rates. So is this not also a big competition, and also is the market entry, the threshold not also high enough because there are so many people targeting this? Or where do you think is your unique selling point and your added value, where you think we can have also a market share, a big market share?
Yeah. You're completely right, especially in Germany for private customer, the competition is really, really big. But we are sure that this competition is nothing that is really sustainable, and we see that every day. Banks still go out of the market. This competition for private customers is different in other countries. This is really unique for Germany, that you get interest rates that are in the end below the costs of funding for banks. This will stop, and certainly our rates that we can offer via the investors, they are definitely competitive. But we also do not want to enter in this kind of competition that we are even, again, 10 basis points lower than the lowest. This is not what we are aiming at. For all the commercial real estate people, I think there's a very unique selling point, or that is the fact that normally they need, for their overall financing, they need a couple of partners often. They need a bank for the low loan to value, they need some mezzanine capital from other investors, probably equity investment. The nice thing about our system is that they can get everything out of one hand. Just having one partner, and it's in the end it's us organizing the different investors. So he needs to do all the credit and paperwork only once, and in a very easy way, and we organize the rest.
But if the customer wants to see someone, speak someone, would that be possible, or call someone, or is it just digital, and I have only digital ways to communicate?
Okay, our aim, of course, is to do as much as possible really through the app. And this app is not only texting, of course. I mean, you saw it, it's also storage, you can make photos, the next step will be video. But, of course, if there's a necessity to have a phone call because it's easier, well, then we have a phone call. And, of course, our strategic investors that we are now lined up, I mean, that was very traditional pitch. We went there with our presentation and told them what we want to do, and we met up, of course. But then later on, especially for private customers, it will be really mostly app.
So that's interesting. So that's really changing, I think, the customer experience and the customer behavior. Now maybe also the social aspects of let's say, the mortgage market. As you said, we've seen the financial crisis, and the financial crisis, of course, started in the US with the US subprime crisis, etc., where house prices gone up, and then the bubble crashed, and then we know how it went on. We see, especially here in Frankfurt, I don't want to say similar trends, but we can see exorbitant high house prices, let's say in the city center. So a lot of new buildings, but imagine a young family with 2-3 children with a, let's say, average income. I can imagine it is very hard for them to buy or afford a house where they can live, or they have to move out from the city and look for another flat or house outside the city center. So would you say that Peermatch has also, let's say, a social value or a social mission, also to reach underbanked people or people who cannot afford things, or do you say, no, we don't really care about that?
That is a tricky one. Well, in the end, again, we have, it's not us, it's institutional investors that do the lending in the final stage. So if you ask me if we can finance people that otherwise get no finance at all, well, probably not. We have conservative standards. We check so roughly on the credit worthiness of the person. After that, we apply the very conservative standard of, in the end, the German Pfandbrief Act and the Beleihungswertverordnung. So we are, together with a partner, evaluating the property, and we come to a lending value, and we have, again, very transparent pricing system that is really taking into account this lending value. So if somebody is not able to afford a house, well then he's not able to afford the house.
Yeah. I mean, that's a clear statement. That's a clear statement, and I think that's also I think the right approach, where we see also the also customer protection rules, that you should not give anyone a loan. You should be able to pay it back, of course. Otherwise, you will get in trouble. How much technology is in Peermatch, and do you do everything in-house at Peermatch with your IT people, or do you have to outsource part of the IT development?
Let's put it that way. We were just able to finish the insourcing. So at the beginning, when Freddie started the whole idea, then of course at the beginning he worked with outsiders, but now the team that we have in Amsterdam is so equipped that we could insource everything, and also the app that was developed definitely by our own people. All the encryption is done in-house, so that we don't depend on others concerning that.
That's actually amazing. I mean, yeah, doing all the nice stuff. I saw also that you have a certain trademarks and licenses or intellectual property rights on your developments. That's the CCCE, cryptographic chat search engine. Who has ever heard about a cryptographic chat search engine? Ready, yeah, because you developed it probably, right? Okay. Okay, these I don't have a deeper understanding about these IT issues, but what I'm curious about, if I have my mobile, and this is not my mobile, but the mobile of my teammate, my mobile is streaming right now. So if I have this mobile and I start chatting with you or some team members, I assume there are real people chatting with me. I'm not chatting with a machine. Do I chat with a machine?
Well, you start for the very first couple of questions. You do start chat with a machine. This is done just because just to make sure that you want something that we can provide, and as well to channel you to the right specialist. But that is really only the first 4-5 questions probably, and then you, as a next step, you will meet one of our chatters that we were asking about. So we have a couple of students whose main task is to make sure that exactly you as a client feel that there are real people, that like walking in a branch saying, hello, nice to meet you, what can we do for you? Mm-hmm. And then the next step is still what you saw also in the video, anonymously saying what you need. You will immediately talk to a specialist. You will get a first indication from us if we say, hey, yeah, this is something we can provide, and those could be the conditions. And only if you then want to continue to talk to us, then you sign up, and then we go into more details. Then you have to provide more data of yourself, and then the whole, let's say, the real credit process starts.
But during this chatting process, I mean, I understand that you save the data and archive it. Is there any type of machine also who is analyzing my information I give you, or is it just question, answer, or is there something more sophisticated running over it, an overlay?
No.
Okay. So there is no machine trying to find out if I'm creditworthy or not?
You mean in the semantics? No.
No?
No.
Okay, I mean...
I know that there are fintechs specializing on that as well, just by analyzing how you phrase things. Well, I mean, no,
how
this is not our path.
How often you use smileys, for example, or whatever? Okay, because, I mean, that would be interesting. So this is not part of Peermatch, if my understanding is correctly, to use any technology which is substituting traditional creditworthiness tests like Schufa, etc., that you look on some other information to understand, is he able to pay back?
Sorry. No, definitely not yet.
Okay. But that could be also an add-on, maybe?
Maybe. If we feel the necessity, if we feel the added value, sure. But again, we don't do business at the moment with private customer. That is certainly something when you have a higher number of private clients, that something to consider.
Okay. Now we come a little more deeper. So the first credit application process starts. The chat is successful. Then I upload my digital evidence, whatever, my income statement, etc. And then your application gets approved according to your standards. You say everything fine, check, but you're not a bank. So your Peermatch is not permitted to give out the loan, so you need a fronting bank. Some people who were there last time at the PwC Tower, we had Sutor Bank and Zinspilot as guests, and we learned from them that there is this cooperation between a bank and the fintech. And my understanding is you're also cooperating with the bank with a real banking license.
That is true, but before this fronting bank comes into play, we have to do another thing to find the investor for the loan. So we need to be sure that we will have an investor that will take over the credit and the credit risk, and only if this is also clear, our fronting bank indeed comes into place, and they will make out all the loan documentation, but they know directly that they will sell the loan in the moment they have it on their books. They will sell it on to the final investor.
Okay. So you really need to have a single investor who is ready to let's say invest in that loan. Otherwise, that will be difficult. But you think you will be finding the investors because you...
Yeah, but we are not. We are there. We are. It comes to the point that we are not a bank. We cannot hold it and hope to sell it someday. Mm-hmm. We neither have the liquidity nor are we allowed to do it. We have to make sure the investor is there already. Okay.
And the investors, who are the investors? So who would be investing in these loans, the typical investor type?
So we have quite a range of investors. What we have are the typical safe investors that are German insurance companies, pension funds. They have a big problem at the moment. They have too much liquidity and not enough safe assets that still pay positive interest rates. So they are very keen on financing the, let's say, almost riskless first part of the loan and still receive some interest rates. Then we have some family offices and also some UK investment funds that are, on the other hand, keen to rather finance the riskier part if there is a higher financing, so mezzanine or equity. So those are at the moment the three categories that we're having.
I think you were using in one of our conversations the term virtual securitization. So, which also, if I look at the structure, it reminds me somehow of these asset-backed securities or mortgage-backed securities, where you have a portfolio of who is maybe familiar with asset-backed securities or mortgage-backed securities. So I think some of you are, yeah. Since I think okay. So. Maybe in a nutshell, you would bundle loans, put it in a portfolio, and then submit some notes or securities, and investors at the capital markets could invest their money in a bunch of loans, let's say, in a nutshell, if it's more complicated. So bundle and resell. So is this a new digital way of securitization, bundling loans and then selling on to investors, or is it not?
Bundling is exactly not what we're doing. And that's very important to understand. We are passing through, and there we come to the PTSL, yes. Pass-through single loan. We pass through single loans. We don't bundle. We are not an asset manager. Nothing of that kind. So the investor gets the loan with all the security, the covenants that belong to it. This is what he gets. So there is no tranching in that sense. There is no leveraging, no mingling. He gets really this single loan. So if the insurance companies decides that they want to finance the new tower here in Frankfurt and exactly this project, then this is what they get. Nothing else. Not Berlin, not Munich, not a mixture. This project. This project, and they know exactly what they're investing in. This project and this client, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you also for clarifying this, because it's good also to also have these kind of things. I think we've gone in too much details, and it was maybe here and there maybe a little technical, IT and finance stuff. Let's maybe come back to more let's say profane topics like the developments of the ecosystem here in Frankfurt, the fintech scenario, the fintech scene. How do you see this? But before coming to that question, we should all clap our hands to Peermatch, because Peermatch has become the first fintech member of Frankfurt Main Finance, which is an association of different banks and initiatives. The Frankfurt Main Finance, following us also here on Twitter, we interact on Twitter, is trying to push forward the fintech community here in Frankfurt, representing the fintech system. And you are the first, and I think currently the only member, or the first member?
As far as I'm aware, the only fintech member.
You're the only fintech member, and we have the press release also, which I think came out yesterday, quite new. Did you want to add something? Or you're nodding? You're nodding. So this is a tremendous success. This shows also, you start right now, and before actually this rollout, a few hours ago, the press release. How do you see not your own, not only Peermatch development, but the whole entire community, fintech community? How do you think will the next few years look like in Frankfurt?
So we are welcoming every fintech that will settle here in Frankfurt. We also welcome this initiative that has been done to establish a fintech center. Digitalization will take place. Banking will continue to decline. So to have other fintechs around, to exchange, to work probably together, to everybody. I mean, the one thing about fintech is that every fintech has its one business. So maybe in a couple of years' times, it's time to put them together again and to collaborate and to find things that actually fit quite well together. So no, we are hoping that there will be many new fintechs here, because also as a fintech you need a lot of service. You need lawyers, you need programmers, but you don't need them as employers, but just always from time to time on a project basis. And of course, the more fintechs you have, the more ecosystem you have around. So yes, we hope that there's more to come. And I mean, in the end, Frankfurt is definitely predestined with a lot of bankers, also a lot of bankers on the street, I have to say, unfortunately, to be the fintech hub in Germany, or maybe for Europe even.
Wonderful, very interesting insights. I think it was very interesting for me, but it's not over yet, because now it's your turn. Maybe of the alumni, we start with a little poll again. Who is from Asia? Who is coming from North or South America? Anyone from Africa? Cool. Europe? Great. So I think many languages and countries. So it's, I think it's also for you a great feeling to be back again in Frankfurt. So you see what's going on in Frankfurt, the fintech scene, the ecosystem, startups. So if you ever wish to come back again to Frankfurt, looking for a nice, interesting job, come, and maybe you will find a job in a startup or fintech here in Frankfurt, because Frankfurt is developing also at a high space, rapid speed. Now it's your turn. The floor is yours. Please feel free to ask your questions either in English, or we accept also German questions. And the micro, maybe you can take mine. Or is there another micro? No? Arina, could you please pass the micro? Ich glaube, wir kommen mit einem Mikro zurecht, oder? Okay. Herr Dr. Schanz, hinten.
Thank you. One of the most important questions for founders is the financing of their endeavor. Would you mind elaborating on that? How much money was invested in your endeavor? When do you expect break even? What are the next financing rounds, stuff like that?
Yeah, so far we were lucky enough to be completely privately financed by a family office. So this is also one of the reasons we did not have to go at a very early stage through rounds of presentations with investors. But indeed, we are planning now with the rollout and with our marketing plans and taking on of new employees. We are planning indeed a round A quite soon in Q4. Break even, well, that is something that we will then probably publish later on.
Thank you.
I was wondering about the assessment of mortgages. Did I hear correctly that you are the entity that assesses the risk of the mortgage, the person that takes on this mortgage? And in case of default of the lender, who is taking the counterparty risk?
So the final counterparty risk is of course taken by the investor. The way it's done, yeah, the credit work is done indeed by us, especially the credit worthiness. But we are working together, I can say that here, with TÜV Süd for the evaluation and valuation of the property itself. So a full valuation will be done by people who have their qualifications, MRICs, whatever you need. So that is done with a seal on it. The fronting bank that we were just briefly mentioning, that is also the servicer they remain the servicer. There's a clear procedure what happens in a case of default. Then there will be a workout according to all standards. But again, yes, of course, the investor is the one who is the final taker of the risk. This is why he gets the interest rate.
Yeah, maybe one small other remark. I am personally a little bit concerned about the real estate market here in Frankfurt due to also the low interest rate that was mentioned early. Do you also share this concern about asset prices in general in real estate? And do you have a certain view or belief where it's headed and how it might impact your business?
Well, for sure, the prices have been rising a lot during the past couple of years, thanks to ECB and many other things. Am I afraid? Honestly, not that much. So I'm not afraid that we will get this kind of a crash that we saw, because there was, especially in the US, you had what was in the end decisive, that you had a complete different leverage. Still, here in Germany, if you want to finance, it's still conservative, and you still have to bring your equity. As well, when I was talking about this Beleihungswert, for any of you who is not familiar with it, you can say that nowadays, between the market value of a property and this Beleihungswert, there's already 20 to 30% of downsize, and then you have again this a part of that is financed. So there's already a buffer always built in, and this is why as well during the times where we had the bubbles in the US, you didn't see that in Germany. Yeah, so of course, if interest rates will rise, maybe the demand will be a bit less, but I don't see any potential crash or anything that we saw in the US.
Okay, thank you.
One of our supporters from Gründermaschine, and also a Frankfurt School alumni.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, both. I have a fundamental question, because why have banks existed over hundreds of years now? It's for three reasons, three kinds of transformations. That's what they have done. It's I don't know how to call it in English. It's risk, it's the duration of how long loans are given out, and it's the size of a loan. and the profitability seems to be very bad at the moment because the environment is quite difficult at the moment for banks. But that my question comes, the point is, are we looking in the future if we unbundle everything again? We saw those risk derivatives in the last 20 years, and we saw that big bankruptcies were spread very broadly, and so we had a high financial stability in the system, although we had big bankruptcies, like Enron or something. So just my question is, are we looking forward to the future by unbundling the credit process, or do you think by matching, because we have the information now, that we can actually match the perfect investor and the perfect lender, that we overcome this issue?
I would
Sorry
say,
it's a fundamental question.
Well, I hope I understood you. You're right. I think it's a much healthier process. That in the end, I mean, coming back to you, who's taking the risk? That is the investor, and he will tell us what he's willing to do, for how long he will grant a loan. And I mean, if there's demand for a 100-year loan, but there's nobody who wants to grant it, well, then there is no 100-year loan. And banks in the past tried to make everything possible and to play everything in the middle. And then if it didn't work, they put on some derivatives and some leverage and some, what you just said, transformation in between. And suddenly, but in the end, if the ends don't meet, if investors demand and borrowers' wishes don't get together, it's doomed to fail. So I think it's a much healthier system to say, we just match what is matchable instead of playing around in between.
But therefore it's not spreading risk anymore. That's the conclusion.
I think you were the first, yeah.
Hi, thanks for a very inspiring speech and for the job you're doing. I have a question. Have you already developed strategy how you're going to attract individual customers? I'm not from Germany, but as far as I know, Germans are pretty traditional when money comes to question, especially cash and credit cards and stuff like that. So, will that be tough nut or? I mean,
well, I think it's changing with generation, isn't it? And I mean, it's always the question with everything internet related. How much trust is there? But I think with every day, with every positive experience, with every purchase you do via internet that is actually working, with every, I don't know, PayPal transfer you make and it comes there, the trust is growing. That is the one thing. And you were asking, how do we attract private clients? Well, then that is certainly something where we have to go more also into marketing. But that is, again, that's something envisaged for next year. But there are so many ways of doing marketing, either TV, whatever. But so far, social media is for us the thing to use.
I think there was a question, and then we take Nicolas.
Thank you. So I got 3 smaller questions. So question number 1 would be, how does Peermatch earn money? Who is your fronting bank? And how do you cope with, when you think about your private clients, how can you ensure that you got attractive conditions for private clients, especially if you think about ING DiBa, who's maybe the market, the number 1 at the market as of right now for the private clients, how you can compete with these conditions they offer?
Okay, so let's start with the last question. Again, we have very competitive rates already. I would not say they are better than ING's, but comparable. The fronting bank we are working with is MHB here in Frankfurt. Belongs to Lone Star. And what was the first question again? How do we earn money? We are taking a fee from both the investor and from the borrower. It's a fee model.
Is it a flat one, or is it compared to the loans? Is it a flat fee?
No, percentage fee.
You mentioned that you were building your app for 2 years. What were your rationales to ensure that you aren't building anything nobody wants in the end? Did you make any tests? Did you make any? Did you try to gather customer feedback really early on, or how did you ensure that you don't spend money on something nobody wants?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, you of course, but that is really more also a question for Freddie, who developed this. First of all, you have your own vision, what you want, what you would like to have, and then of course you test it a lot with, let's say, friends and family, always asking for feedback. Is that something you like? Is it good? Is it and your own testing? Well, in the end, whatever you develop, be it a product or not, I mean, you never know before it sells if your idea is working. So. That's, I think, the risk you take as a startup, as an entrepreneur.
I think we have a question over there, and then the lady in the back.
Thanks. 2 questions. The first one is, these days it's all about startups and fintechs. If you go to Google's, the minute you just say, right the start, Google finish up with the app. So aren't you concerned maybe the next bubble might actually come from either startups and fintechs? The second question is coming from Africa, where there is a big potential, let's say in the real estate business. Is there a strategy to expand in that market?
So concerning your first question, you are right. Fintech, that is at the moment the name of the day. You have a lot of startups and developments, and for sure not everybody will survive. That's clear. Some will merge, some will fail, some will probably work together with a bank. But again, it's just time for it, yeah, because the demand is there. Concerning your second question, are there any plans to also move to Africa? Well, I have to say, not immediately. So we start with Germany. We will certainly, the next country where we are already quite far advanced in putting together all the paperwork is the Netherlands. And we will first expand in Europe, but I would say nothing is impossible, but not for the foreseeable future or immediate future.
I think there was a question here. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for your motivational speech. I have a question regarding anonymity. How do you ensure that you are not collecting data once or after I download your app? Is that you should get a notification, probably my location or some sort of data regarding this?
Yeah, well, I mean, the data is safe with us, and as well, what we have built in is what is Treuhänder in English? Yeah, a data trustee. So to make sure that not suddenly that you finance your neighbor or something like that, or that your neighbor is getting all the data. Yeah, so there is a data trustee in between, making sure that everything stays anonymous.
That's when I chat with you or after I download your app?
Well, when you chat with us, then of course we will keep the data that you provide to us.
So I can chat as a guest as well as...
only at the moment when you decide to sign up with us, and then with that you sign all the data confidentiality.
All the terms and conditions and...
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should do what is it called? This sign. Yeah. Well, okay. Maybe a question from my side again. How many people are, a different question, how many people are working currently in a startup or worked in the past in a startup? Raise your hands. Okay, good. And how many questions do we still have? I think there is tremendous interest. Sasha Kian, here we have, and 2, 3, 4. Oh, whoa, that's so much. Let's do like a random one. Herr Kern, Sie vielleicht zuerst?
Actually, I have 2 questions, to be honest. The first one would be, if I understand correctly, you're providing investors with an access to an investment opportunity for a reasonable price. You mentioned the pension funds that are mostly asset holder, but in theory there could be other hedge funds coming and start the bundling that we just talked about, and in the end then making quite a good business just because they have this cheap access to this to that asset class. That would be the first question, if you see that as a potential outcome. And the second question would be related to private clients. I mean, for private clients, it's for most of them it's the investment decision they do in their life, and life changes, whatever, new job, they move, they got divorced, whatever, financial conditions change, and then they would be talking to an investor.
They would continue to talk to us as well. There are products that we offer that are, for example, callable. Yeah. So, but they talk to us. Yeah. So they would not directly to the investor.
Okay. So during the lifetime of the loan, there would still be some kind of flexibility to consider, things that happen in life, whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
And for your first question, I'm not sure I understood.
You mentioned as the that pension funds, for example, were one of the investors that you're targeting, and they usually hold the asset.
Yeah.
And we talked about the bundling before, potential CDOs or whatever. There could also be a hedge fund appearing, asking for funds that you channel through, that could be cheaper than the market provides for whatever.
So you mean hedge funds as borrowers or as investors?
As investors. And doing the bundling on their side and just using you as a channel. Could be, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't care about the investor side, that is the question, basically.
Do we care about the investor side? Well, we do care about the investor side, but if you mean like who is providing the money, no, not exactly.
Okay.
And I think we take maybe one final question, and then unfortunately we have to close because we're already gone over time. But no worries, we still have drinks and snacks, and you can continue the networking, go and ask the question. We have also members of Peermatch. Maybe raise your hand. Some of the team members, you can also mingle with them. Freddie is there, and I see some other people sitting here. So go on chatting. Peter, final question. So you have to ask the best question ever.
All right, no, don't worry, it's a very short one. So perhaps I didn't listen properly, so just apologize in front. But anyways, what happens after it is matched? Are you offering any services, in particular for individuals, after you kind of matched, the borrower with the lender? And the lender gets into trouble, or the borrower gets into trouble, or anything. Are you offering any post prices?
Yeah, we in the end we and together with the fronting bank that becomes the servicer of this loan, we stay in the middle, and we stay there as people to talk to if there should be any problem, if there are wishes to change things. We stay there.
So I don't have to use anything but your app, so to say.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for the final question. Alina, darf ich das Mikro haben? And now, before come to an end, I have to thank many people. First of all you people here, sitting here. Francesco, hello. And all the audience, because you are giving the spirit and you are the most essential part of our success. And we're really proud and happy to have you here from event to event, and it's attracting more and more interest, which is very good for our community, the ecosystem, fintechs, and hopefully also for you, that you can learn something from our guests. This is the aim, to present you interesting founders, CEOs, guests like tonight, Yvonne Many thanks, of course, first of all to you for joining us, for being our guest here, and for this lovely conversation.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Our limited edition, not the wine, but the cup. Thank you so much. Ja, vielen lieben Dank. Genau, nee, die Tasse für den Kaffee, den Wein am Abend. Let me maybe also thank once more Frankfurt School of Finance for hosting this lovely evening, and most of all, precious here, Marina. She put so many efforts and so many work, and she was doing this also not only because it's part of her, mission, but she's also our guest. She's also attending our Startup Grind events. And thank you again also to Anna and anyone who is Eva, who is involved in preparing this behind the scenes. Many thanks for the catering, for the snacks and drinks, for your hospitality.